A very good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. Welcome, Sagar. A very good evening to you too.
Good evening, Kalpesh, and welcome to all our listeners. Warm welcome. How are you all?
I'm sure everybody is doing fine and touch wood things are getting back to normal, Sagar.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, Kalpesh.
Great. It's always something that we look forward to Thursdays evening, 5 p.m., and then we know that we want to go back to our audience with something that's very important. And in this whole journey of building productivity mindset, I think
Mindset.
we've covered lots of knowledge and wisdom and everything that we could think of, and we've kind of tried to bring that on one plate and offer it to all of you. So we're going to continue that journey, but I think it always makes sense to quickly just do a walkthrough with regards to some of those elements of what we've spoken and how that has made a difference. So Sagar, if I may invite you to quickly just give a glance through of our journey, and then we do a little deep dive into the topic that we want to cover for today.
Absolutely, Kalpesh. So, your wish is my command, and here it goes. So, we started with the journey of building productivity mindset, and we fixed a schedule for ourselves. We committed for ourselves that we will be sharing our knowledge base with complete sincerity to every single listener and help different organizations, different teams, and different leaders to build not only a productive way of working or just a productive meeting or just one of the productive thing, but a productivity mindset which takes the organization to a different level and bringing that journey to a autonomous work culture. So we started with standardization that improves productivity. Then we went up to discussing about 5S as an approach. We also talked about creating accountability using simple framework. We also discussed about, can quality be inspected? Talking about quality, we also went on to a level further where we discussed about the first time right concept, the FTR, taking it forward to idiot proofing and how we can achieve FTR. All that we linked to data, because without data, we cannot take action unless and until you've analyzed, measured. You cannot go for an improvement. So that brought us to data management or data intelligence. Then once you have everything, you need motivation. Now motivation cannot be from outside. We know that. We discussed about different types of motivation, intrinsic, extrinsic, and we came to a conclusion at the summary that the motivation that is from the within is one of the best. And today we're going to talk about employee engagement. And this session has been amazing with you as a moderator, Kalpesh, because one would have a lot of information, one would have a lot of things to discuss, but it also depends on the moderator, the friend who is asking questions, who is trying to bring out the best. And that's definitely you, Kalpesh. So that's the credibility goes to you. And we should not forget our sponsors. The venue sponsors are Red Brick offices, one of the best offices that I've worked in Hyderabad, the co-working space, completely safe after COVID, the way they have taken care of social distancing, the way they've taken care of hygiene and safety, brilliant. And then Connect partner, it's Connect Quotient, and then technology partner is TEDx Chorangi. So thank you everyone for sponsoring our thing. We also thank all the participants who have been very active on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and reaching out to us with their photographs of 5S that they've updated or the SOPs that they have defined in their organizations. Some people have approached me and shared their photographs of Gemba walk of before and after. And it's been an exciting journey of 3 months, nearly 3 months. And, thanks to everyone. And yeah, this is where we are right now.
Great. Sagar, I think just taking the feedback from Padma and Gokul who are there with us, that their voice is echoing. I am not too sure, Gokul. I'm just trying to test it once again, but I think the things seem to be normal at my end. But maybe if you can just be there for some time and observe, we'll look at how do we make it much better. Thanks for sharing and thanks for being with us. So, Sagar, thank you. Thanks, Gokul. Happy to hear that. So, thank you, Sagar, for for the acknowledgement. And I think it's been my pleasure to partner with you in bringing this building productivity mindset as an entire module to our audiences and our people. One of the most beautiful thing which I want to acknowledge you, Sagar, for is we've heard a lot of talks. I've been into a lot of Zoom calls and webinars and programs that happen, but what I'm realizing is that a series of these conversations, which actually kind of help you build an end to end and leaves every session with a takeaway where you can go back and actually look at executing and look at getting those tips for your team. I think that's something which has been very amazing. And I think the acknowledgments that we have received, people who have reached out with feedbacks on the same thing, I think that's an excellent piece. So I think congratulations for designing it as a 10-week session where we speak over different parts which are important for building productivity mindset. So not taking
Yep.
time from everyone, let's get into today's topic, which is where we're talking about the employee engagement. So, employee engagement is made up with two critical words: employee and then the engagement.
Yes.
And both these aspects become very critical and in its own role. So maybe Sagar, if I may probably ask you to, let's start with what does it mean for you, employee engagement? What does it stand for you?
So, Kalpesh, I would give it with an example. When I talk about employee engagement, it's as you rightly said, it's about a combination of two words, which brings me to a very important point that a study done by Gallup very recently has very clearly said that they took analysis and feedback from 1.4 million employees worldwide. Now that's a huge number to have an analysis and base a report on, and they've categorically mentioned that if employee engagement is high, the employees are engaged, the improvement in productivity is 22% higher. The employee turnover is reduced by 25%. And the accidents, which means if I'm talking about the safety factor, the accidents have reduced to by 48%. So, that shows the variety of things that can be achieved through employee engagement. But that study shows that it's really not only talking about productivity. So our session is about productivity mindset, but it also talks about various other things in terms of employee engagement. And that report was also backed by Jim Harter. Now, Jim Harter is a PhD and a author of various books and more than 1,000 plus articles on employee engagement. And I would definitely want to share what he said after reviewing that research paper and when he was interviewed about it. He said engaged employees are more attentive and vigilant. They look out
Mhm.
for the needs of their co-workers and overall enterprise because they personally own the result of their work and that of the organization.
Okay, I mean, that's just amazing. And I'm just thinking about, while it sounds so simple, like employee engagement, and and if I just go back to all the 23, 24 years of experience that I've had, Sagar, a lot of times in the initial phases, an employee engagement comes across as activities where you do something with your team and you engage them into something, and most of the time it was always about something beyond the work. So it was always about getting them connected through some games or through some activities, and and literally it would be pushed on to saying that अरे वो HR है ना उसको बोल दो, and they will do it. It's not something that I have seen in a lot of organization with with the value that it demands, or with the kind of
Yeah,
significance that you just brought in, with the kind of impact on productivity that happens. It doesn't happen by getting everybody together on a Friday and playing some games with them. No, it doesn't happen. That's not
very
employee
true.
engagement. And I think, what I want the audience to be present to is this is what we would want you to go back with as a takeaway from things that we want to share, that employee engagement is not about those games and those meetups that you do, but it's something which is more internalized and something more as an approach rather than a checklist.
So I have something for you, Kalpesh, on that note, because you've touched base on a very sensitive area. So let me iterate on that. That employee engagement is basically a workplace approach resulting in right conditions for all the members of the organizations to give their best each and every single day, committed to their organizational goals, motivated to contribute on their own well-being. Which means, if I have to break down that definition, it talks about an individual well-being, it talks about organizational goal and vision and mission, and all that encompassed into a value, or bringing out that commitment, that motivation to go to the work. And that approach all put together is nothing but employee engagement. So it's not just one HR activity, as you rightly said, but it's a complete holistic approach of the whole organization, the mindset of the organization, the mindset of the management, and the way things are done. So, like David McLeod, he says, this is about how we create conditions in which employees offer more of their capability and potential, but it is also a two-way commitment based on trust and transparency.
Wow, I love that word, trust and transparency.
Yeah.
I think, no, it's very well said, and thanks for explaining. So, Sagar, what can an engaged workplace look like?
Uh, well, that looks like everyone's of our office. So I have few points that I've taken down. So let me put that, and let's see how many of our listeners would agree that this is what their workplace looks like. So a good engaged workplace would definitely have lower absenteeism. If your workplace has that, type in the comments below. If your workplace doesn't have it, do type in that also, and we will help you how we can improve that. It also indicates lesser accidents as per the Gallup study that we saw. It will definitely multifold the customer satisfaction or customer surveys. It will also bring in higher productivity, higher commitment, and it's definitely important. And then it will also have increased profitability. So if any of these points represent your organization, and while you're listening to this, just put in a yes with the number, it will help us. We have a feedback. Well, I do agree that mindset of an organization is very important. Yes, Gokul, and that is the whole purpose of us doing this series called Productivity Mindset. And thank you very much for acknowledging that. We really appreciate you engaging with us, and we would love to know what your organization sees out of these 5 points. What kind of parameters do your organizations have for employee engagement? It'll be an honor to know about that, Gokul. Yes, brilliant. Thanks, Gokul.
Great, great. And Sagar, if I may just add to what you're showing here, sometimes, we have the whole IPO, input process output mechanism, and what I'm clearly getting present to is what you've put is the output, is the outcome.
Yes.
So a lower absenteeism is an outcome, and what you'll actually do for that is what will matter. And one of the reasons which I've seen in organizations and managing teams as large as 750 people is that the lower absenteeism is directly connected with how each employee feels valued with regards to what he or she has to contribute.
Yes.
We come across many scenarios where people want to go beyond whatever they think is their capacity to fulfill what is their commitment only because they feel valued and associated to the work they do. And I think that's linking back to I think all these points that you've spoken about, the whole employees, the process in which you handle them and work with them, or you engage with them, resulting into what you've put here as the five outcomes.
Yep. Absolutely, Kalpesh. Yep.
Wonderful. Great, Sagar. So,
Gokul has given a comment which I would like to just share. That's fine, Gokul. That's really fine. So Gokul is saying that my organization is not focusing on engagement but asking for output miserably. So Gokul, what I would say is that yes, I think most of our organizations would be having that kind of approach. So by end of this session, maybe you can share this thing with your HR and let him watch through, or you can share this thing with your leadership and let them watch through. And by end of this session, you will also learn what are the ways you can contribute in your organization to bringing out the change for employee engagement. So yeah, taking that note and taking it forward, as Kalpesh said, that there are various things that can be talked about employee engagement. Let me reiterate on few other points right from the input output perspective, and also about who is responsible and what are the areas of employee engagement that we're talking about. So as we said that it also requires about getting connected or having that engagement. So basically there are four stages of employee engagement, and those four stages are exactly what Kalpesh said. What do I do? What do I get? Do I belong? And the last is, how do we grow? Now if you've noticed, Kalpesh, hello.
yes, I'm there. I'm there.
Okay, no, I thought, okay. So here, if you notice, Kalpesh, the fourth point is not how can I grow. The fourth point is how can we grow.
We grow.
The first three questions, if you noticed, were talking about the I, the individual. And the sooner the 3 points are completed, the person no longer remains an individual. The person no longer remains a individual, but he becomes as a team member. And so what do I get? So when we talk about what do I get, it's basically what's in it for me. Now, there was a study done where it says that 29% of the workforce will not be dependent on only salary, but they would be dependent upon the team. They would be dependent on their subordinates. They would be dependent also on their managers, the upline. Coming to what do I do? Now, when I say what do I do, that's basically on the work level satisfaction, the appreciation that they get, the harmony that they have in their team. The next question comes, do I belong? And when that question comes, it's about the teamwork. It's about knowing what your place is. It's about asking questions, getting feedback, getting suggestions. And once those three questions are achieved and attained, is when the company starts talking about how do we grow? Because then it's a team and not an individual talking together. So then we talk about how do we grow together in terms of productivity, sales, marketing, finance, everywhere. And once that growth is achieved, that's that is a point we can say that now we have grown, and then we can proceed towards success and excellence. So
Beautiful.
these are the 4 points, Kalpesh.
No, beautiful. I think, Sagar, you've absolutely, in four questions, This simple four questions, if actually every leader goes back and one is reflects for himself or herself, and then also reflects for his team or her team, I think they'll get the answers for it. Because I think it's a very beautiful message that we always want to look at what do I get, but with that you also need to look at what do I do.
Yeah,
And I think the when the whole conversation operates from, it's like two people in the game together, and rather than focusing about what you do for me and what will I do for you, that becomes very transactional.
yeah,
We don't do that in families, right? In your relationship with your siblings, your parents, your cousins, you're not always, okay, you give this to me and I give this to you.
yeah,
There's no balance sheet that you prepare, or there's no uh, clear agreement that you have there. But what you know is that there's trust and there's transparency in what we
yeah,
will do. And when
yeah.
that kind of a synergy, that kind of an association happens, I think what you end up doing is building that productivity mindset for all your people together. So that is
Absolutely,
what
Kalpesh.
triggered with the four questions that you asked, Sagar. I think that's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So now I've given the four questions. We've discussed about what is employee engagement. We've also studied and known about the facts about the Gallup study that was done about 1.4 million people and the employees giving their report. And we also know the outcome of that. Now, having known all that, engaged organizations will have very strong and authentic value with a clear evidence of trust, transparency, and mutual respect. And this two-way promises and commitments that are made between the employers and employees will always result in a productive shop floor, a productive mindset, a happy customer, a happy employee, and a happy working environment.
Yeah.
So I think that summarizes that what is engagement, why it is needed. Now the question comes, you know, how? So
That's
before we move on to that Kalpesh question, can I ask you a question?
please, please.
Okay. So the question that I have for you is, can you tell me what were your feelings on the 100th day of your job compared to the first day of your job?
So I would say this, Sagar. I think that was and I'm relating to my experience at TCS. So about 12 years back when I joined TCS, the first day there was a lot of curiosity. There was a lot of you know learning, like, okay, what is going to happen? It's going to be a big organization, and uh, and what am I expected to do? So there are a lot of those queries and questions which I was going through, and and I think that curiosity, that energy was very high, looking forward for what's going to happen. And and I may say I was lucky, but I think by the 100th day, I think that inquisitiveness or that challenges really rose to a complete different level. I i i had lots of upsets. I had lots of deliverables and tasks on my plate, and there were times when I thought, yeah, what have I picked up? But equally, I think the challenges that were there on my plate, the kind of environment that I was in, I think I enjoyed every single moment of that. So not only 100, but I think the 1000th day, and I think I spent about 4000 days in TCL, and I think all of those were very, very, very exciting as a journey for me. That reminds me, I need to
Brilliant.
go and calculate how many days I was at TCS for 12 years.
Well, we'll just do the math. It's approximately, I think, 4,000 days.
Yeah, probably yes.
Yeah. So, Kalpesh, now that answer brings us to a very important topic to be discussed, and that's very, very relatable to employee engagement and your productivity in an organization. Now, you had this very good and very engaging experience, but while I'm consulting various companies, I come across people when I talk to them one on one, or when I start talking to them about, their SWOT analysis, what are their roles and responsibilities, what are the problems they are facing right now, and what is that they look for in terms of the future, in terms of the growth, in terms of expansion. And most of the time it boils down that they are not given that space where they can grow. Most of the time the employees are confined. Some people would be good in, for example, a person can be very good in IT and other things, but he is also having an acumen to understand your operations and also connect those operations and convert it into a big data point. Or maybe there is a finance guy, but that finance guy is also having a knack in marketing. But because of our silo structures, because of our fixed rigid way of working, we don't explore those areas, and that's where also a little disengagement starts. Because it's not always that it's only about money that people look into, or only when they are given some designations. But most of the people in their work environment always work for challenges. Now, that may sound very funny, or, that may sound very uncommon, but all of us work and deliver our best only when we are challenged in the work areas that we like to be challenged. Now, of course, if I challenge you to develop a website, you might feel overwhelmed. But if I challenge you to change an organization and bring out a winning culture in that organization, and that's your core, you will do anything that it takes to ensure that you change that organization and build a winning culture for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the beauty of understanding an employee. So employee engagement starts with empathy.
Beautiful.
So if you don't have empathy towards your employee, if you don't have that connect, you will never be able to understand them. And if you don't understand them, how will you engage with them? And most of the HR fraternity or HR friends that I know, when it comes to employee engagement, that you said, they will organize a party, they will organize outings, and they will say, let's go out and we will have a training session outside, and they have fancy names in the corporate for that. They might also go out and say, let's have a Friday night party or a get together, or they might say, let's have a pot lunch. All that is fine, but what is that burning issue that employee has? Try to connect to them. Be empathetic, be human first, and then look at the resource.
Yes. I think very well said, Sagar. And to add to what you just mentioned, see, let's be honest, okay? Why is it that today a lot of your lot of companies are moving away from the responsibility of the employee engagement or employee uh, you know trainings and everything, from having a separate function to making their people managers responsible for doing that? The line managers are now becoming responsible to actually build those coaching mindsets, build those productivity mindsets, train and engage their people. Because as you rightly said, in one of the sessions I've used this name as mindful connections that you build. That, are you mindful with regards to what context are they operating from? Why are they doing what they are doing? Do you really understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their
Yeah.
you understand them as human beings, rather than
Yes.
compartmentalizing them and saying, okay, no, no, this one this can do, this one this can do, this one this can do. Can you bring them together? Because as you rightly said, Sagar, I've come across many organizations where individual functions, if you look at, are SMEs. They are the best in the industries. But as an organization, are they, is the organization really growing? No. Because I keep going and relating that to saying the same thing, that all of your silos are like pearls. Each one has its own value. But if you do not have a thread that connects to all of them, you've missed the boat, my friend.
Yeah,
So wonderful
very
point with
true.
regards to challenging, wonderful point with regards to creating that drive, knowing them of what, who they are, I think is the key or master key, if I may say, to the first point of employee engagement.
Absolutely, Kalpesh. And that brings us to our story session,
Okay?
right? So let me share a very small short story about how employee engagement or how a small tweak can bring out amazing results. So there was a team, and they were trying to have a meeting, and they started having management review meetings based on the sessions that they attended and the coaching and everything. So the meeting was very simple. The managing director or the CEO would come and chair the meeting. The top executives would be available on the side chairs, and the subordinates would come and present their slides about what happened in the last month. So the person would come, go to the slide, and present it. Sir, the production was this much. We had so much of downtime. This were the complaints. This were the rejections. This were the quality, and this was a COPQ, which is cost of poor quality. These are the improvements that we did last month on the maintenance part. And these are the photos of Gemba walk before and after. And he is the employee of the month in our department. And if the managing director feels to ask one or two points, he will ask. Now, the beauty was the managing director would only ask questions when he saw the red color arrow, because the consultant had told them, sir, you only have to keep an eye on what is going red. Whatever is green, don't worry, it's fine, it's growing. So yeah, so went on, and I was called in for one of the meetings as a consultant, and I was told to sit in the board meeting at the side and just observe what is going on. And I was amazed to watch a very, very organized, and I could say an orchestra. It was an orchestra which was actually being delivered to the MD. So it was that, and after the meeting, he said, "Sagar ji, आपने देखा how amazing the team is and how amazing we communicate. Don't you think that's really nice?" And I said, "Fair enough, sir. It's really nice. It's good, and I would love to have a talk with you one on one separately after the meeting." So he said yes, he understood what I was trying to say. Then he gave me time. What I explained to him is that, it's not about meeting and talking people and understanding what they're showing and what they've done in the past month, because that's more of a post-mortem. What is the
Yeah.
future? Where is the future? And he didn't understood. So I said, we will just change 2 3 points. The first point I told him to change was, you will not be the chair any longer. The chair will be a revolving chair. Each HOD will become a chair in one meeting. Second,
Okay.
you will never ask questions about what went wrong. Your questions will be turned, and you will be asking them a question where you will be saying, how can you improve that? What will you do to improve that? What do you need from me to improve that? And what's the new target? He said,
Okay.
yeah, we can do that. And second month, third month, the meeting started. And sixth month is when I again visited them. And Kalpesh, this time the scenario was completely different. The ND was sitting at one of the chairs which was available. The center chair was taken by the HOD of maintenance. And he was taking the meeting so beautifully and asking questions, because he being in maintenance, he was aware about purchase, he was aware about production, because they are all team members. And he was actually pinpointing the pain areas of the production team, understanding it from the maintenance point of view, and also giving commitments to them that he takes the ownership of improving that so that the production improves. And they were not talking about anything that was done in the last month. The last month slide was just 1 minute, and the 15 minutes of each department was invested in talking about what are the bottlenecks, what they have done, and what are the areas that are open for discussion. And other HODs were actually working as a cross-functional team to grow together. I mean,
Okay.
that's one small change of governance, of bringing that connectivity, of answering the third point, that do I belong in the stage. And everything just got changed for that company without doing much ado on that area. They started growing internally. They started setting targets for themselves. They started challenging themselves internally. And instead of having a one-man show or a one-way communication, it was a complete interactive meeting. And that's when I asked the director after the meeting, and I said, now tell me, what do you feel? And he just said that I exactly know what you meant 6 months before, Sagar, and thank you very much for doing that change. And he gave me a laundry list of things that were done in last 6 months, and he said, I never thought that this could be so easily done.
Yeah. No,
So
beautiful. I think
that's
it's
the
Sagar.
strength.
Yeah, and I think what you told Sagar, no, it's like it's the same. Transformation happens in that moment.
Yeah,
What then requires is the rigor, is the discipline to ensure that is alive. So I think that idea of rotation, that idea of moving the responsibility. It's like the way we do in Six Thinking Hats. The minute you wear the entrepreneur hat or you wear the leader's hat, and you're sitting in that chair, you start looking the whole world from a different perspective, where you were
yeah,
earlier wanting to just defend your role or your function or results that you've achieved, where now you start feeling accountable for bringing the best out of people. And I think that's the shift. Beautiful point, Sagar.
yeah. Thank you, Kalpesh.
Great.
Yeah,
So,
so to
so
all the listeners, by the time we go on to the sorry, Kalpesh, go on. I'm
no,
so
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just asking.
Okay, so I
So,
was just saying that to all the listeners that while me and Kalpesh pull out one more question from Kalpesh's, the moderator guinea bag or the goodie bag, that he pulls out more interesting questions. If you have any questions, please write it to us in the chat below and we will be happy to answer. Over to you, Kalpesh.
right. No, so I was just going to say, Sagar, at the start, we talked about the understanding of the employee engagement and what it means. I want you to talk about the different stages of employee engagement. Like, how do you take those first steps? How do you move from one level to the other level? Because that how becomes the most crucial element for all of us in executing this strategy or this plan.
Sure. So let me pull out my favorite Maslow, and let's take his support and understanding his hierarchy and then putting it together. So we
Yeah.
understood Maslow's hierarchy of needs during motivation, that it's about security, survival, belonging, and importance, and that exactly can be replicated in the the stage of engagement. So the first stage is a disengaged employee, which means that is an employee who is saying that, okay, I get my monthly salary, and I'm able to leave whenever I can. I have the flexibility of time, and yes, I come and do the mundane day every day, and I don't ask, nobody asks me, I don't have to report to anybody, and that's it, the day goes. So what he's doing is basically he's coming to fill in the time. He's basically a clock watcher, is what we call. So he comes in 9 to 5, does the job, 1 hour lunch, and he goes out. So he's basically two punches, one lunch, the in punch, the out punch, and the lunch. And that person is basically coming in only because he wants to survive and he wants to get his basic salary. He's not involved in anything. If you give him the task, he'll do it. So he's more of a disengaged one. The second one is of, he's not disengaged, but he's still not engaged because of the team, because of the supervisor, or maybe his health is not supporting him. He is falling sick for too many days because of his own deficiency in the thing, or he doesn't like his manager. So that's more of, he's doing it because he wants to have job security. So he's not engaged, but he's showing to be engaged. The third stage is, who is always ready to be engaged. He's on the verge of just being engaged. What we call them is almost engaged. So they enjoy chit chatting with their employees or their friends. They love going to the coffee. They love the AC in the thing. They also have a sense of attachment to the team. They also are aware that, I am going to be a part of something big in the future. So These are the people who are mainly on the bench, but while being on the bench, they are also talking to their friends. They are aware with what is going in the company. They try to help people out, and they try to go over the board sometimes. So they are almost engaged. The most important is the ones who are engaged. Basically, they have satisfaction. They've got feedback from their seniors, and they have a feeling that I belong here. I'm required in this team. I'm an achiever. I've achieved this. I've got these trophies. I've got Employee of the Month for September. I've got Employee of the Month for last January. And I will definitely do something better today from yesterday. So that is the team which is highly engaged. They are always busy. They are always chit chatting about business, of course. They are also engaged within themselves. They are ready to go that extra mile because they are getting right feedback from their managers or upline or the support staff. And then comes the best one. Now, this is not very easy to achieve. There are very few people in an organization who would join in as a GET, become a manager, next year a senior manager, then going to a VP. And sometimes we call these people that, oh, he's just a yes man, or he's just saying, he's just linking up to the manager or so that. But no, sometimes they are people who are very, very engaged. They love working what they are doing. They are giving more than 100% of what they're doing. They want something more in their life, and while doing that, the approach that they have, the gratitude that they have, also makes the line manager give a feedback. So it's more of, if I say these are two hands, if I have to clap, or if the sound of clap has to
Sagar,
be, yes.
right. Sagar, just want to say that we can't see you because I think the visual that you're showing is high. So I think if you're doing that with your hands, we're not able to see what you're trying to show.
Okay, so what I'm trying to show, Kalpesh, is these are my two hands. All I was doing is a clap. So what I'm trying to say here is that if I have to clap, I need two hands, which means there is one hand of an employer, manager, leadership. One hand is of an employee. So as an employee, I cannot keep crying that I'm not getting feedback. The manager is not good. The organization is not good. My organization does not talk about anything, and blah 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 blah. But at the same time, I also have to understand that my leader is also a human being. It's not always that the appreciation should come from the leader to the manager or to the downline, but sometimes it can go from the downline to the manager as well. And that's where I said that, if you want to make sound, you need two hands, a leader and a follower, which means it's a two-way street, it's a two-way commitment. So the highly engaged person actually is not only depending upon getting things, but he's also ready to give back. He goes and talks to his manager if he's not happy. He goes and talks to his senior manager if he's not happy. Sometimes, if the management has done something good, he also voices that out. And that's exactly when you become a high flyer. So, just being complaining about things is the easiest way to go forward in life. But where you go, you're all alone. But when you are taking charge that, okay, this is wrong, I know it is wrong. What will I do to change it? What can I do to change it? Try that. And after you have tried and tested, and then if it doesn't work, when you surrender on that part, fair enough. Don't surrender without trying.
Right.
And
And
that's employee engagement, and that's what I wanted to relate to your question, Kalpesh.
beautiful. And Sagar, I want to link this point back to what we spoke in the last session when we spoke about motivation.
Okay.
We had shared a perspective with one of the listeners, the audience was that who is going to be the motivator. Are you always on the side where you want to be motivated, or are you somebody who motivates? And
Yeah.
therefore, you actually, while you spoke, you actually touched a beautiful point where you mentioned that is it always the responsibility of the people at the top to engage you, or is it also your responsibility to maybe go and engage them? And I think again, I'm just kind of getting present to the same perspective then whose responsibility is it? I think it's a shared responsibility.
Yes, of
You know,
course.
do I always want to be at a place where I need to be engaged and please give me some importance, please give me some, create some activity or create some challenge so that I can participate? Or do I do that? And can I actually look at engaging even my seniors? And I think that's an excellent perspective, Sagar. I appreciate that perspective.
So I'm just laughing because I came to a point and I had this suggestion from one of the maintenance guy. So while I was talking about employee engagement, self motivation, and people, and so he just made a funny statement. So he said, "Sir, if I want to involve all the leadership in the company, and all of them should come to the shop floor, can I go and stop the DC motor sometime, and the production will stop, and everybody will get involved?" And everybody was laughing hilariously. So that is not the way where you get attention, or you do that. So maybe doing something wrong, or getting that. And I just remembered the way he spoke. I mean, it was just hilarious. We were all talking serious, and he said, "Sir, can I switch off the motor and make all the management come running, and we will have that discussion?" Said, "Boss, never do that." So there are funny people who can think of that kind of approach as well.
And sometimes it works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes it
you don't want
definitely
to,
does. Yeah.
yeah, while you don't want to risk the business, but sometimes these kind of things work. Sagar, just want to keep you posted. My laptop, I think, is frozen right now. I'm not able to move the screen. I'm just happy that you're able to hear me and see me, but I'm not able to see anything. So if I just get dropped, I'll request you to continue and take the session forward.
No problem, Kalpesh. So, taking that liberty, the point that we are right now in the discussion, that brings us to the point where, now we know what is importance, what is employee engagement, why it is, what we've discussed so far. So, this brings us to a point where we will share what are the top engagement strategies, or what are the top employee engagement strategies that we need to do. And to have that, there are 12 different points, Kapish. The first point starts with, always ask for a feedback. Asking feedback is very easy, but what is more important in this point is apply it, implement that. And if you're not implementing, go and give a feedback to that employee, that why his suggestion or why his feedback was not applied, and what are the practical challenges that stop that feedback from being applied. The second point is, let employees make their own working hours. Now that is a little delicate, is because people might think that it would be 9 to 5. I'm not talking that. I'm not talking about only being 9 to 5, or only doing the part-time job or working from home. What I'm talking about is that if I want to take a holiday for a day, or if I want to take a leave for 2 days, does not mean that I'm not going to be productive, I'm not going to work, or I'm not going to be active enough. What we need to do here is we need to let him decide about, this project has to be done in 3 months. Now, if he works 10 hours a week, or 20 hours a week, or even 25 hours a week, that's his choice. 40 hours a week, fair enough. Let's say he wants to work on a Saturday, Sunday to complete this up, and he wants to take Thursday as a off. That's the flexibility. Sometimes, as managers, as employees, as employers, we need to bring that, and that becomes very important. So that's one area. Then, talking about the third point is, we need to have some kind of social engagement. We need to have some kind of a off activity, or a off office meeting, which can be game nights, which can be yoga mornings, which can be a decorating contest, that can be pot lunch, that can be even singing karaoke in the lunchtime. Or it can be also going out and volunteering your time for some farms or some villages, that can be a CSR activity. Or it can be, now in corona times or in COVID times, while people are struggling, it can also be act where you cook a meal and go and give it and distribute in the evening, and that will become a lot of bonding. Because I believe that gratitude leads to happiness, gratitude leads to blissfulness, gratitude leads to employee engagement, gratitude leads to productivity. So everything that you do, if you connect it with gratitude and you bring that connection with your employee, that'd be a very good thing. Going forward, the fourth point or the fourth strategy is, if you can allow, or if there are scope, allow work from home. Now that was proven now during pandemic, then most of the people are working from home. There is a study which says that there was an increase in productivity from 14 to 17% when the employees were working from home. So, it's not so difficult to have people working from home. You can always have accountability. And if you've missed how to create accountability, watch our fourth session. It's available on YouTube. You can understand how a very simple framework will help you to create productivity. And when I say simple, it is actually SIMPLE. We have broken it down into various things where you can do it. Going on to the fifth one, have transparency in the goals specified to the people, to the employees, that how it will support them as well. So the business goals need not be always for organization, always for bottom line, always for just going forward, getting more customers, increasing production and all that. No, there are business goals sometimes which are also related to employee. Now if the company is growing, the employee definitely will grow. If the company is going to go for expansion, the employees will definitely get a good office which will have good ergonomics. Now ergonomics plays a very important role in employee engagement. I will touch that point to you, or rather, why should we wait? Let me ask you a question, Kalpesh, because I believe I've had this discussion with you. uh, could you share your experience in TCS about the ergonomics of the place? I remember you telling me a story of induction of a boy, and how you made him feel different on the first day, and how that office environment or the small cups or some gifts that you used to give. Can you tell that story and enlighten the whole team and bring out that employee engagement in your team?
Sure. So I think this was a story of we inducting people into our team, and as a large organization, of course, every unit had their own strategy. The one that I had for my team was that when anybody new would join, and we would always know their joining date, we used to organize, identify the place where the person is going to sit, decorate that like with a welcome note, put a welcome card, and those key things. For example, at that time, the policy was that there was a ban on the plastic, and therefore all of us had to carry our water bottles and carry our cups. I'm sure that the employee who's joining the day one will probably not have these things with him or her. So we actually organized a beautiful water bottle, a coffee mug, uh, a beautiful hand diary for the person to make the notes, and kept the place decorated. When this manager, and I remember the first time when we started, I'm sharing the experience of the first manager, and then we kept doing this. The first time when we did, and this was the training manager who was joining us, and she had a previous stint in international organizations, and she was joining TCS because she had relocated to India. And she comes to office, and we escort her to, I went down personally. She was going to be a part of my team. I went to the entrance to escort her. I escorted her, helped her with the formalities of doing the entry at the reception. And then when I took her to her desk, where the entire team of 25 training and quality leaders were there, and we all kind of just welcomed her and shared. And then she looked at her desk where she's going to sit. She was in tears. She couldn't believe that this is the kind of welcome that you can organize for a training manager. And mind you, she was already having 15 years of experience working with various multinational organizations at various geographies. And that moment left her absolutely touched, moved, and inspired. with regards to the way her commitment shifted to to the organization and to the team. I think that's something which I still remember, and it's fresh. And and honestly, after that, we said, boss, nothing doing. We will not lose this as a practice, and we actually internalized this practice for every single person in our team.
Thank you, Kalpesh. The reason why I asked you this story was just to share and reiterate that it was not the organization TCS that told you to do this thing for engagement. It was not the HR who gave you the SOP. It was your initiative as a team member, or a team leader, a team manager. And that's exactly I would request to all the leaders who are listening, to all the employees who are listening, that employee engagement is a two-way commitment. It's not a one-way street. So now coming on to the sixth strategy, make planning easier for your team. And that will ensure that they have higher confidence and it will boost their productivity. That is very simple. Allocate resources in advance. Resources can be rooms, meeting rooms, or even laptops, or even simple Gantt chart, workflow templates, either to your customer or to your employee, and that will make them feel engaged because they will have their name written there, they will have their responsibility matrix, they will have deliverables, they'll start feeling connected to the project itself. Seventh is get them involved, ask them questions, ask them suggestions, ask them what things that they look for. Of course, now because of the new things, people are having mood boards, mind boards, war rooms, and interactive chats. That's improved, but yeah, that can be done. And always ensure that you encourage your employees to take a water break, or maybe just some movement within that 15, 20, 30 minutes, because what happens is while you're sitting on a chair for more than 1 hour, 2 hour, you also develop a lethargy within your body, and that also takes away your ability to think, your ability to cheer up, or interact, and that also affects you as an individual. So employee engagement is not only about being productive, but it's also about thinking yourself, your own well-being. So that you have to do it, and it's not about me going and encouraging an employee that, oh, you have to wake up get up every 15 minutes, go for a glass of water. No, you do it yourself, because you have to take care of your health, you have to take care of your office. Or you can have a clever designs in the office. The printers can be at a distance of a few steps, the water can be at a distance of few steps, the employee has to go and get the water glass. So that way it can be done. Create new accountability strategies. Use a simple matrix that we have shared, and that will help everybody feel accountable. Create different ways of accounting. It's not only KPIs and KRAs and the formal accountability interviews. The interviews of appraisals can be taken in a garden, can be taken while you're strolling down in your park, or can be taken while you're just taking a walk on the terrace, or have a cigarette and do that. And that way it'll completely change the perspective of your team, your members, and establish a work-life balance. Which means, now this I want all the listeners, if you're concentrating somewhere else, just give me 30 seconds. Just listen to this. You don't like when somebody calls you when you're with your family. You don't like when you're watching a movie in a theater and somebody disturbs you. Why do you do that to your subordinates? Don't do that. Respect life, respect family time. If you don't like it, don't do it to others. And if you like being disturbed when you're with your family, wake up. Your wife and your children need you. Stop. Do get disturbed. Do have your own space. Your wife and kids are more important than the job. The company will not be with you for life. Your wife will be with you for your life. Be with the family, spend that time, establish a work life balance. You don't need to have managers telling you that. Switch off your phone if you don't need to. And I'm not saying that switch it off every day, but sometimes when you're spending time, a quality time with your family, or maybe you have an anniversary and you're going for a candlelight dinner, switch it off. Give your 100% to your beloved wife. Your son is having a birthday or a parents teacher meeting. Do that. Don't you switch off your phone when you're in a very important meeting with a client? You do. You put it on silent, isn't it? Now treat your wife as the most important client in your life. So that's one point, Kalpesh, where I wanted everybody to, spend some time. And last but not the least, have time for yourself every day. Do some kind of a breathing exercise, go for a walk, do some morning routine, have some kind of personal 1 hour for yourself. Last but not the least, help your co-workers. The more you help, the more happiness you spread. The more happiness you spread, the more gratitude you create. The more gratitude you create, you are leading to a blissful surrounding. And that's where I would say that these are the 12 strategies that I would request each and every individual to follow in their life to implement employee engagement in a very successful manner. Kalpesh, you're mute. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry, Sagar, because I've just switched on to the phone. I didn't realize.
That's
So,
okay.
no, I think what you said are very relevant points. And, it's like we always say that treat others the way you want to be treated. And some of the examples that you give are really being mindful about what are you spending time for? How are you doing it? Of course, the ownership is not being questioned. I can't, the messaging that me and Sagar are giving right now for the audience, please do not take that as that, okay, boss, now I need to switch off my phone and I can do what I, no, you're still accountable. Can you manage so that your work is not getting impacted? Can you can you set the right expectations that if I'm not going to be here for so and so time, but this is the person who can be there as a backup? Can you be responsible that all the information that is required for the work to happen, you've already done that? So it is about you making yourself, uh, you disrupt yourself is of course there, but you making yourself out of, you making that space for yourself.
Yes.
And we're talking about making that space. And engagement begins with us as every individual. Engagement begins with you. It is not something that somebody comes and gives it to you on your plate. You create it, you are equally a part of it. Look at what's affecting. And Sagar, the tagline that we have for our organization, right? Expanding circles of trust. Circles of trust is as simple as you mentioned in one of the employee engagement parts or social circles part of it. It simply means that you take a 10-minute, say in a week, or 15 minutes in a week, and you just maybe talk about a question that, okay, you know how do you treat old people in your family?
Yes.
Or what is it that you enjoy the most when you go for a vacation? Now what happens is these different aspects, when you question, understand why are we talking about this kind of context, is because it starts giving you a glimpse in the life of who that person is. If I come and ask you, Sagar, that, okay, who are you as a person? A lot of times it's a very, I mean, I'm sorry, but a lot of scripted answers come up that these are my strengths,
Scripted.
these are my weaknesses, this is, every person does that because that's what is required for survival, for probably
Yeah.
growth. But that's not what is required to create the sense of belongingness. A sense of
Yes.
belongingness will come from when you know that person as a person, beyond his roles, beyond his profiles. Sagar, what we both do in our LinkedIn locals, you're doing it in Hyderabad and I'm doing it in Navi Mumbai. What is the whole objective? Knowing people beyond their profile. Why? Is because that's where you kind of create the sense of belongingness. You're creating
Yeah.
you both playing for a larger goal and purpose, and you at least now know each other much better.
Yes.
And I think that's what is very crucial when you talk about employee engagement. And it goes without saying, right? When you're so engaged, you have that sense of belonging, you are building productivity mindsets, because you'll not need to then go and ask, have you completed 9 hours of day, or have you completed the task which was given to you? That's a given.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think what we want to elevate our teams who are working, our leaders, be it men, women, young aspirations, old people, is let's build that mindset for people to give in what's required. I would never say that give in 100% because sometimes 100% may not be enough. So
Absolutely.
give what's required. Sometimes it may only need
Yeah.
50%, sometimes it may need 500%. But when
Yeah.
you operate from that, you're building productivity mindset for you as an individual, for your team, for your organization, and not only organization, I'll say for the whole community which
Exactly.
gets
Absolutely.
impacted.
We are doing it for the whole. It's not for individuals. You rightly said. And taking that example again about what you said about taking the space for themselves. The reason why I used the example of switching off the phone, Kalpesh, was very, very relevant to the Indian context. I'll tell you why. I recently traveled in Indigo. You know what they did? They have started charging 100 rupees if you want a printed boarding pass. Does it mean that they are not doing customer service or they are not customer centric? No, they are. But unless and until it's forced onto people, they will not go for a soft copy of a boarding pass. So what they're doing is pay 100 rupees. The same thing, if you understand as a psychology, that there are certain people, no matter what you teach them, they will call you at 8 o'clock and they'll say, I'm so sorry I'm calling you in your personal hours, but can I talk to you for a minute? You tell them yes, and that minute converts 1 hour. And while they are keeping the phone, they'll be so courteous. Thank you. I'm so sorry I took your personal time. I apologize for that. I have no words. So sometimes I'm saying that, initially, sometimes when you try to set the expectations, you give all the details, if it still doesn't work, try it the hard way. But that's a tough way, and you need to be ready for the consequences. So it's not you have to do it, but sometimes, it's like you have to go a bigger bang or a bigger blow.
And I beg to differ, Sagar, but yeah, that's one perspective, and that's all I'll just say that that is one way of looking at it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. I
No,
think
no,
what
that's
we
not the
the
that's
messaging, I think the messaging that we're giving, Sagar, I think that's wonderful. That at the end of the day, where we started the session with saying employee engagement, that engagement is a responsibility of every person in the organization, and not only that
yes.
you look at your leaders to provide that to you. And I think that's the key messaging. And we've spoken about the hows, we've spoken about the wins, we've spoken about why you should do that, what are the different ways you can do it. uh, at the end of the day, look at how engaged you are in your organization and how engaged is your team around you. So I think that's where will
Absolutely.
be the starting point.
Absolutely. So let's leave them to the starting point by giving the summary of our sessions. So we have given you the knowledge, we have given you the right strategies, the right tools, of course, the fun part. But if you really want to improve employee engagement and build a productivity mindset, all you need to do is use the knowledge and the right tools that we have said, and you will find that the working place that you are having is healthier, happier, and more productive. So we summarize our learnings from today that we've given you everything that you need to build engagement, employee engagement. We have completed 9 good sessions, and this is the 11th show that we had. The first 2 were the discovery call that we were doing, but we have completed 9 sessions in the building productivity mindset. And I'm sure the journey has been amazing for you all. If you have missed any of our videos, it's available on our YouTube channel. It's also available on LinkedIn. And I will be sharing the links of the YouTube channel on the comments. You can please feel free to share it with your employees. Please feel free to share it with your leadership team. And anytime, anywhere you are stuck, please reach out to me and Kalpesh. We are here for a selfless support to the LinkedIn community, and we will be more than happy to discuss and have a discovery call with you all. Kalpesh, any last parting notes for the session?
Yes, yes, not only for our LinkedIn community, I think everyone, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and even if you're not on social media,
Yes.
you just come to know about us from anywhere else, just feel free, reach out to us. You know,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
what the word you use, Sagar, is important. Uh, for everyone, I want you all to know that this is something that we're doing as a service. This is something that, you know, all the wisdom or all the knowledge that we've gathered, all the research that we spend time doing is to only bring it on the table for making lives um, progressive for all of us and building that productivity mindset for one and all. So I think that's our contribution to the community if I look at it from that angle.
Absolutely. So, Kalpesh, it makes me emotional as well to announce this, but 12th of November is going to be our last session for building productivity mindset series. Of course, we will be introducing a new theme very soon. So don't forget to miss, don't forget to attend the session of 12th November that is going to talk about autonomous work culture, because all the 9 sessions we've been sharing different strategies, different tools, different topics that can build a productivity mindset. Now, putting all that together, the resulting factor is autonomous work culture, creating symphony. And that's what we are going to talk about in our last session, which is on 12th November. We will be available on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and our email addresses is available. You can also check connectquotient.com and raise your queries and connect with me and Kalpesh on that website as well. We will be happy to share and discover things with you. In case if you have any ideas about productivity, if you have questions about productivity, don't forget to ask your own productivity explorer, Sagar Amlani. I'll be happy to discuss them with you. So we will be excited to have you on 12th November for the 12th episode for building productivity mindset.
Great, Sagar. Thank you so much. And team, looking forward to speaking with all of you on the 12th of November again at 5 p.m. Till then, stay safe, stay connected, stay happy.
Thank you, Kalpesh.
Thank you, Sagar. Take care.